Hi, and welcome to the 10 Tampa Bay News Week in Review, your essential weekly news roundup. I'm Dave Wagner. Over the next 30 minutes, we're bringing you important and in-depth stories from across Tampa Bay, the stories you won't find anywhere else. For several days, a winter storm disrupted airports across the U.S., including right here in Tampa. You can see the red growing on FlightAware's misery map. There were more than 7,500 delays and more than 6,700 cancellations to flights into or out of the U.S. on Monday alone. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Miguel Octavio met several people spending the night at Tampa International Airport in hopes of leaving in the morning.
The airport never truly sleeps. But tonight, thousands of passengers have no other choice but sleep here.
Well, I'm a little bit nervous because tomorrow I'm scheduled to work.
Jufred Cologne's flight isn't scheduled to take off for another 6 hours. He has family expecting him home in Boston.
Right now I'm a little bit at ease because we booked, but I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next few hours.
The impact of wintry weather lingered into the start of the work week.
We're enjoying the beautiful weather here, but still worried about home.
People from snow-heavy areas like Philly waited hours for their flights.
Trying to figure out what we're going to do next, if go to a hotel or whatnot, so we'll see.
But Jennifer Akessa Burney of Chicago couldn't find another flight until tomorrow.
It's a lot disappointing because we have little kids. I have 4 kids.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says he expects flights to return to normal by midweek. In just hours, much cooler temps will hit the area.
For you guys, yeah, it'll be warm weather for us up there, yes.
I wish I didn't have to go back because it's so cold in Chicago right now. But, responsibilities.
Still, stranded travelers say there are worse places to be stuck than Tampa.
Yes, I totally will enjoy it. I'll be on the poolside in my hotel.
And that was Miguel Octavio reporting their strawberry growers spent Tuesday night monitoring cold temperatures hour by hour. If it got too cold, they'd spray the plants with water and let it freeze, giving them some insulation to protect the fruit. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Chris Hurst spoke with growers about the fine line they must walk when it comes to the weather.
This season actually has been a season of exceptional quality.
There's the good.
The cold weather does slow things down.
And the not so good so far this season for Nick Wisnatsky and Wish Farms.
We are going to see a little lower production that we're typically used to around that Valentine's Day time period.
That's because the strawberries in stores then,
that's a berry that's going to be probably a couple of weeks away,
are growing right now, meaning any loss to freeze damage will lower the supply until new berries emerge next month.
It's not like we're just looking at a forecast and saying, well, if it gets to this temperature, we're going to run water or not. We're really micro-focused on specific areas of the farm.
Spraying water on strawberries protects them with a thin layer of ice, trapping heat, but also creates another problem.
We're trying to avoid having any diseases spread, and water does allow that to happen. So you have to really kind of balance the risk with the reward there.
Everybody's a little on edge.
At nearby Parksdale Farms, Matt Park plans to be up most of the night, waiting to see how low the temperature goes.
Just on my ranches, we're looking at probably 30 people are going to be out here tonight with me. And then within my farming group, there's another probably 30 people that'll be out there.
And that was Chris Hurst reporting. 4 years ago, Family Support Services took over foster care in Pinellas and Pasco counties. They came when the foster care system across the Bay Area was in disarray. Now, as Jennifer Titus shows us, they're making strides to give kids a safe place to rest and getting a boost from AI to manage the workload.
Frankly, it is disgusting and deplorable.
That was how the Pinellas County Sheriff described the conditions kids were living in under Eckerd Connect's care back in 2021. Launching a criminal investigation into how at least 50 kids were being moved around on a nightly basis.
We have children who are sadly abused and neglected by their parents.
Investigators said some kids were even sleeping in the Eckerd Connect's offices.
They went to a place that is as bad or worse than the place we took them from.
The state told Eckerd Connect's their contract would not be renewed at the end of 2021. Instead, the footprint for family support services grew from managing child welfare in Duval and Nassau to also include Pasco and Pinellas counties.
We have done a lot of work locally to try to stabilize children in out-of-home care. So when we entered the system, there was a lot of kind of lingering caseloads.
Now, all children are in licensed care. But this isn't just a turnaround. FSS is also seeing fewer kids having to go into their care to begin with.
We've reduced by over 62% the number of children who are in out-of-home care or being served by the system. So there are much fewer children to place and more options to use for them.
How did we get to the point now that we do have enough placement for these kids?
Yeah, it's a massive effort from a lot of different teams. So part of it is on the front end with investigations and how they handle cases. Part of it is preventative resources, so we have a much more robust prevention team that supports families before they get to the point of removal.
It took time and effort to work through the troubles from Eckerd Connects.
Children waiting to be adopted who had families identified and just hadn't gone through the court, or families that were waiting to be reunified and hadn't yet been reunified. A lot of children entering the system because there weren't many preventative resources available up front to avoid sheltering kids.
That's why caseworkers have a new tool for those challenges, using software from Binti. It uses artificial intelligence to help with a variety of tasks, like it says on their website, less paperwork, more social work. The company partnered with the state to help with everything from case management to referrals. Felicia Kirkuru started Binti after her sister adopted 2 children and found it stressful and difficult.
So you can think of our first product, our licensing product, as sort of like TurboTax to be a foster parent. Families can apply online on their phone, get through the process more easily. And then it's also software for the social workers to track the background checks and all the steps they need to do to license families and relicense them each year.
Over 100,000 families nationwide have used it to become either foster or adoptive families. FSS is using Binti's service referral module to make sure families get the assistance they need more efficiently, and they can find it all in one place.
They don't have to spend the time kind of sorting through ambiguous information or figuring out what a family needs and how to get them there. Then they can focus on those other things. This is kind of a one-stop shop, so we can see any pending service referrals for any child or parent currently in an out-of-home case.
While there are things out of their control that might force kids into the system, the caseworkers at FSS are prepared to meet the challenges head on.
A lot of the work that has gone into restoring the community has happened, on the preventative end and in response work. It's really, I think, healed the community and shifted us from a crisis framework to now sustaining a much healthier system.
Jennifer Titus, 10 Investigates.
And we did check with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office about their investigation into Eckerd Connects, and they told us there are no updates to this case. If you want to foster or if you want to offer professional services to families, FSS wants to hear from you. You can find out more in our story on our app. On Wednesday, a St. Petersburg mother accused of killing her 4-year-old son appeared before a judge. A judge ordered Diana Cullum held without bail. Police officers were called to her family's home on Tanglewood Avenue around 3:30 Tuesday afternoon and say they found Cullum with stab wounds holding her son's body. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Kristen Barbarisi shows you what investigators say happened and what she reportedly told them.
There's no answer at Crescent Lake Family Dentistry today, a practice owned by Damian and Diana Cullum. 43-year-old Diana is instead in jail.
It's a charge of murder in the first degree.
Making her first court appearance by video after police say she suffocated her 4-year-old son Finley with a plastic bag. The gruesome discovery made by Cullum's 16-year-old daughter.
When the daughter got home and there was blood all over the house and she found her mother holding her 4-year-old brother, they were both covered in blood.
Investigators say Diana had self-inflicted stab wounds, those injuries visible as she raised her hand in court.
At this time, I'm going to remain set at no bonds.
Her husband Damian looked on from the gallery, his head buried in his hands. The question now is, why would a mother kill her son? Police say they have never responded to any calls to this home, which online records show was put up for sale a day before the murder, and it's still unclear if there are any mental health issues.
A situation like this is really difficult to predict. You know, it's not tied to criminal activity or drugs or anything else. When you have crimes like this that are domestic in nature, that are hard to understand or explain, it can happen anywhere.
That was Kristen Barbarisi reporting. She did speak with Cullum's adult daughter, who said the family does not wish to comment right now. Ever since 2 cities in Pinellas County talked about switching from Duke Energy, we have seen a public campaign against those plans. On Wednesday, 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Andy Payton investigated who was behind that campaign.
The cities of Clearwater and St. Pete have made their intentions clear. They're considering pulling the plug on Duke Energy and are currently exploring making their own municipal electric utilities, which they say could save residents 10% on their bills.
The city's own report actually has made it clear that there's no guarantee.
Duke Energy has made it known they think it's a bad idea. But the campaign may not just be limited to the public statements it puts its own name behind.
We can't afford a government takeover of the electric grid.
Over the course of the last few months, organizations like Pinellas Energy Alliance, Clearwater Energy Alliance, and St. Pete Energy Alliance have started popping up.
They are spending tens of thousands of dollars on ads and canvassers to spread misinformation. And guess who's footing the bill for that as well?
Residents joined tonight by St. Pete Council member Richie Floyd say they've noticed them too.
I couldn't tell you for sure that that's who it is, but it's, every arrow points in that direction.
And records show the nonprofits' messages may not be their only similarity. All 3 alliances share the same registered agent and address, which also happens to be the same as Duke Energy. That, of course, could just be a coincidence. But when you look further into the records, you find the nonprofits incorporator Lisa Loss, who, according to her LinkedIn page, was a manager at Duke.
Why would we agree to higher taxes?
And meta ads show her alliances are sure spending like a corporation, with close to $100,000 being spent on advertisements alone since October. Tonight, Duke Energy declining our request for an interview, but responding in a statement saying that the alliances are not controlled by Duke Energy, and that Lisa Loss is no longer a current employee. Now, we reached out to these alliances as well as their founder, Lisa Loss, to discuss their similarities with Duke Energy, but they did not respond to our request. Reporting here in the newsroom tonight, Andy Payton, 10 Tampa Bay News.
On Thursday night, Tampa City Council narrowly approved more funding for what's become a controversial flood relief project along South Howard Avenue. The vote came after hours of debate from homeowners who desperately want it, and business owners who worry construction will hurt their bottom line. As 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Chris Hurst shows you now, that vote does not signal the end of the debate.
What are we supposed to do if you kill this project?
Homeowners in Palmacia Pines and Parkland Estates showed up again to defend the South Howard Flood Relief Project, saying without it, their homes will continue to flood.
I think you have a moral responsibility to ensure that the infrastructure supports the development that supports this city.
We do have the opportunity to file a claim, and we probably would exercise that as well.
But businesses like the Epicurean Hotel and Burns Steakhouse threatened legal action if it moved forward over fears tearing up roads to put in new stormwater pipes and culverts will keep customers away.
Residents need to know that there will be funding for future projects in their neighborhoods as well.
And then there are the other people who keep flooding, who would rather have the $20 million approved tonight be used elsewhere. But outside of council, the mayor lobbied hard to keep the project moving, which is still in the planning stage.
The mayor has told people that without this vote, she's going to cancel this contract.
The mayor feels that too much time of inaction has gone by, and wants and desires council to take the next step so we can proceed with this contract.
It passed by one vote, letting the project continue before the rest of the funding needs approval later this year.
The big vote on this is going to be October. So that's the time when everybody's concerned, is this going to go forward or not?
And that was Chris Hurst reporting. Right now, construction is on track to start next year and finish by the end of the decade. A severe water shortage is prompting new water restrictions across the Tampa Bay area. It's impacting everything you see in yellow on this map. On Tuesday, 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Kristen Barbarisi explained what's driving the decision and what it means for you.
These new restrictions go into effect on February 8th and will stay in place through at least July. The decision comes after months of declining conditions across west central Florida. Bodies of water like this one with water levels well below normal. At a meeting Tuesday, staff told the Water Management Governing Board members rainfall over the past year has been well below averages.
We are quite lacking. We ended the year with a 13.1 deficit.
That shortfall, combined with limited rain predicted in the coming months, prompted staff to ask the board to move into a more restrictive Phase 2 of the district's water shortage order.
Some of the factors that we look at are stream flow in our rivers, water levels in our lakes and wetlands. We look at public supply quantities in the reservoirs, and we look at rainfall.
The change tightens outdoor watering limits for residents across most of the region. Turning your sprinklers on like this every day, not allowed.
The modified Phase 2 primarily is moving from a 2-day-a-week watering to 1-day-a-week watering.
And while Phase 2 would normally end at the end of winter, it's now extended through July 1st.
I think the public is taking it seriously. I'm not saying that we don't have some citations and situations out there, but for the most part, I think everyone can see water levels are down.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
The board approved the move to Phase 2, and further restrictions remain possible if conditions continue to deteriorate. If you have questions about the restrictions where you live, we have information on our website. Reporting in Tampa, Kristen Barbarisi, 10 Tampa Bay News.
Rapid growth is leading to overcrowding in Polk County schools, so the Polk County School Board approved a plan to ease the pressure on Tuesday. And 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Angelicia Bruton explains what they want to do.
In less than 1 hour, Polk County School Board members will vote on a rezoning plan that is meant to ease overcrowding at high schools that are already over capacity.
Polk County is one of the fastest growing counties in the whole country.
And now schools are feeling the squeeze.
Like Haines City has 2 lunches, and so you've got to feed over 3,000 kids in 2 lunches. That's a pretty big feat every day. And so if we can lessen the burden at places like Haines City High School or Davenport High School, you know, and Ridge, you know, and just other areas that need that relief, then that helps the operations run smoother overall.
Haines City is operating at 127% utilization without portables and 95% with portables. The proposed rezoning plan includes a new school, dropping utilization to approximately 105% without portables and 79% with. Algebra teacher Stephanie Yoakum says this will help students and teachers.
As we have overcrowded classrooms, those kids are getting less individualized attention. And so the more we can do locally to maximize dollars and to help with working conditions and learning conditions, I mean, that's a step forward.
Superintendent Fred Hyde mentions capping enrollment as another possible solution.
It can be frustrating because if the enrollment cap is met and the student literally lives across the street or moves in over the summer, then they may have to go 5-6 miles away to attend the next closest school.
And school board members say that this is just one step to addressing overcrowding. Soon they'll be having meetings on rezoning middle schools. Those meetings will start in April. In Polk County, Angelicia Bruton, 10 Tampa Bay News.
On Wednesday, people upset about plans to build a cruise port in Manatee County made their voices heard. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Annie Krall went to Terracea to listen.
When it comes to Rattlesnake Key, legislators say it's some of the last undeveloped coastal lands in the Tampa Bay area, which is why so many people are fighting to protect them. Environmental experts shared their concerns about the years-long impact of a project like this.
And I have a whole lot of faith in this community. You know, we know that our water and our environment is really its core to how we have fun, how we feed our families. And we know that this is part of our core culture and identity. And we know that it also is what's driving our economy.
Maya Burke with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program echoing the sentiments felt by many near Rattlesnake Key that a cruise port here would drastically change their way of life, not to mention the wildlife. Residents in the area didn't want to go on camera, but tell us the water is very shallow. Construction would likely be lengthy, and the traffic, noise, and pollution it would bring makes them willing to battle the proposition. Last week, the Manatee County Legislative Delegation said that House Bill 4073 had been withdrawn. While not directly linked to a cruise port being built, the bill did outline jurisdiction and proposed changes in the county when it comes to Seaport Manatee. Now, a private entity is pursuing the possibility of a cruise terminal.
I have a lot of faith that we'll make the right decisions. And if the correct decision ends up being to build something in this site, we have to trust in the regulatory processes at the county, the state, and the federal level that would make sure we would first avoid impacts, second, minimize impacts, and then third, if those impacts did occur, that we would be mitigating them. So we would have an additive value of more clean water and more habitats elsewhere in the watershed.
With that new legislative change at the state level, leaders say that they want to continue to listen and adapt when it comes to any potential new plans for bringing a port to these waters. Reporting in Manatee County, Annie Krall, 10 Tampa Bay News.
Senate Majority Leader Jim Boyd also sent a statement about the potential cruise port, saying in part, quote, though the option to buy Rattlesnake Key no longer exists, my mission to save the island has not wavered. The wetlands, estuaries, and coastlines of Tampa Bay are the heart of our community. The health of these ecosystems is inseparable from our quality of life, our economy, and the legacy we leave for future generations. Well, this neighborhood in Tampa is set for a redevelopment. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. On Wednesday, 10 Tampa Bay News anchor Miranda Parnell went to a meeting where neighbors were supposed to get an update on how the Robles Park Village project is coming along. Unfortunately, they're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
A new development meant to preserve the history of one of Tampa's oldest public housing complexes.
Housing is not cheap, and when it's something like this, it's new housing. It's going to be beautiful once it's done. Yes, it's going to take time.
Councilman Guido Maniscalco spoke of the growing need for affordable housing at the Tampa Heights Civic Association meeting Wednesday night, where residents expected to get an update on the plan to turn the Robles Park Village public housing complex into more than 1,000 affordable housing units.
A place where everybody can be proud to live in, while also addressing the housing availability and affordability in a centrally located part of Tampa.
And while neighbors didn't get their update due to a sudden illness from a development leader, Owen Young, who's lived near Robles Park for more than 50 years, says he's pleased with the work he's seen done with the property so far and feels the city has been good with communication.
The outreach department has done a pretty good job in ensuring that the community has an opportunity to share their concerns, their desires, and to make sure that the project aligns with what we expect from Tampa Heights.
Young hopes the city continues to keep the redevelopment process timely and transparent, saying he's ready to see the families who were relocated for the project have the opportunity to come back home to a newer and nicer neighborhood.
It's still important to us that the citizens who moved out still have an opportunity to come back once the facility is finished and community is rebuilt.
In Tampa, Miranda Parnell, 10 Tampa Bay News.
A couple in St. Pete spoke out Monday about getting scammed out of thousands of dollars in bogus vet bills. They say they fell for it because the scammers sent them an AI-generated photo of what they thought was their lost dog on an operating table. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Chris Hurst shares their story.
She squeezed just enough.
A tiny gap in a backyard fence.
And we train service dogs, combat wounded veterans, first responders.
Is all German Shepherd puppy Hazel needed to send dog trainers Michelle and Dennis Morita into a frantic search last week.
She slid right through, and then we looked on the cameras, and she went through the neighbor's yard, but then didn't matter by that time.
They posted pictures of Hazel on Facebook and Nextdoor seeking help. Later that night, they got a call from someone claiming to be St. Pete police. The person claimed a car hit Hazel, and she was in the hospital, needing surgery.
They had a location for the incident where she supposedly got hit,
which was very close to here.
Yeah.
Then the man sent the couple this picture. In their desperation, they thought it was her and sent $1,900 through the banking app Zelle.
So it all sounded legit, and that's where I was like, okay, then can we come see her? And we're like, oh yeah, 9:30 in the morning.
When they went to get her the next day, Hazel was back, sitting in their golf cart. That's when they knew they were scammed.
I was beating myself up. Like, how do I do this? I'm a professional,
Now they hope others learn from their mistake, considering the scammers weren't caught and are now using AI photos to dupe people in distress.
It kept beating me up. I was like, I believe everything happens for a reason, and this could be the reason right here.
In St. Petersburg, Chris Hurst, 10 Tampa Bay News.
Area pet hospitals say they will never ask you for emergency payment over the phone. Now, according to the Federal Trade Commission, scams that impersonate well-known businesses and government agencies are among the top reported In 2023, reported losses to the scams topped $1.1 billion. During Gasparilla Week, there were plenty of fun activities to enjoy. A special Tampa police unit took advantage of Monday's cold and rain to train for Saturday's big event. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Eric Glasser shows you how members of the motor unit sharpen their skills.
Well, for the Tampa Police Department's motorcycle unit, a day that starts off like today did, cold, damp, and breezy, is less about discomfort and more about preparation. For TPD's motor unit, Gasparilla comes with tight turns, low speeds, and precision riding, often just inches apart, all while navigating sometimes slick pavement with little room for error.
Anytime that we have training, whether it's raining or it's cold, whatever the conditions are, we still train because it is important.
The motor unit, which trains monthly, plans to add a couple of new maneuvers this year. While the synchronized riding often draws cheers, their core mission is always safety.
We like to make sure that we look good when we're doing it, you know, but at the same time we want to keep it safe because we want everybody to be safe in the crowd too.
The rain adds another layer of risk, but the pavement is already an obstacle course, especially with beads and debris coating the streets.
The beads can really be, they can be a challenge because the bikes will wash out, the front tire will wash out on the beads. So it is a challenge, but these guys are good.
TPD's motor unit has deep roots in Tampa. The police department established it back in 1910, making it one of the oldest units of its kind in Florida and the nation.
We select the best of the best to come here, and we put them through a rigorous process to get here. So when you get here, you were well chosen. The pin that we wear on our Class B uniform, it's a motor wheel. You've earned that motor wheel.
TPD's motor unit is just one part of a massive police presence expected Saturday as the city braces for big crowds, rain or shine. Training in today's conditions ensures that they're ready for whatever Gasparilla brings. In Tampa, Eric Lasser, 10 Tampa Bay News.
This week, a warning went out about dangerous conditions for those taking part in the Gasparilla flotilla. As 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Angelicia Bruton shows you, the Tampa Police Department's Marine Unit emphasized water safety.
Over here in the basin is going to be incredibly difficult that day.
While hundreds of thousands are expected to pack the bay and downtown Tampa,
Can't stress enough that day with regards to the winds being upwards of 20 miles an hour that day, how difficult it's going to be to boat.
wind and storms in the forecast could lead to choppy waters.
We encourage inexperienced boaters and or first-time boaters, this is probably not the Gasparilla, to come via water due to the fact that those sort of factors and the amount of vessels that will be in the basin that day is going to be incredibly difficult and will pose a safety risk.
Tampa Police Department's Marine Unit, along with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation, say they will be on high alert.
The largest concern would be the collision with regards to the vessels.
FWC recommends wearing life jackets, which are required for children, along with having proper safety equipment on board and a designated sober operator.
The state law always requires life jackets for everyone on board, a throwable device, a sound producing device, as well as flares if appropriate, depending on where they're going to be operating at night. And then in any period of low visibility, we always recommend that people ensure their lights are working prior to taking out on their voyage so they have the appropriate lighting.
And on Thursday, the famous Gasparilla Pirates announced they were moving to a contingency plan for their big parade due to the strong winds and rough waters. Take a look at this map here. The Jose Gasparilla 2 usually leaves from Ballast Point in South Tampa, then makes its way around Davis Island. But the contingency plan had the ship take off from Port Tampa Bay before making its way to the convention center. And thank you for watching this Week in Review. Be sure to keep it right here on 10 Tampa Bay Plus for the latest information that impacts your life.